So when we think of aspirations for scope, we can think of the premier university in the world or a leading university in the Middle East and so on. So Batterjee Medical College talks about thus providing the region with well-trained, qualified healthcare professionals. Our Yambu Industrial College talks about developing the infrastructural facilities in the two industrial cities of Jubail on the Arabian Gulf and Yambu on the Red Sea. Very focused scope of these things. So I call this the outline of the elephant. I put it all together. Now what I can do is I can see what the combinations are, where they fit in. Right? So this is what I presented as the framework in the first one. What it allows me to do is to capture the logic and the language of the vision and mission statements. It allows me to take the vision and mission statements and put them in sort of a semi-standardized form using this structure. And what I would really like to do in terms of taking the next step in envisioning a world-class university system is to be able to have interviews and discussions with the leaders for validating the framework. You are the leaders of these institutions. Do the axis, what I mean by the axis is, do these columns make sense? And do the categories make sense? And so that once we can complete and validate the visions of the respective universities, what would be useful is if in the context of one vision or mission statement, a scope is missing or something else is missing, one could go through it very systematically and see what are the attributes, what are the categories that are appropriate for your university. So once we can go through that validation, the validation of the framework and the validation of your respective vision and mission statements, one can then put together a composite map of the university system. I can see where the various vision and mission statements fit into this framework. And therefore, I can complete the picture of the elephant, so to say. Now, having completed the picture of the elephant then, what it allows me to do is to see where the gaps might be. Are there certain regions that are not being covered? Is there too much emphasis on basic research? Is there not enough emphasis on educational pedagogy? These are the types of questions that I can start asking, and then try to fill in the gaps and assign priorities to it in terms of developing a strategy for a world-class university system. So I hope what I have presented to you, based on some preliminary research based on your vision and mission statements, using a framework that I had developed for a world-class university system, modified it in the context of the Saudi universities. Okay? And hopefully it can be used with further validation and data collection in terms of developing a map of the world-class university system for Saudi Arabia. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this very interesting analysis of our vision and mission statement for some of our universities. Our next speaker is Professor Philip Elbach, who is a well-known and highly respected speaker in many conferences. His talk this morning is about world-class universities, challenging for developing countries.
Good morning. I would like to do two things in half an hour. One is to briefly discuss what the first two speakers have also been talking about, because we all think it's very important, and that is what constitutes a world-class university system. And I'd like to take most of my time to discuss one part of that world-class university system, and that is the research university. I won't be using a PowerPoint, so your challenge is to listen carefully so you can ask good questions. An examination will be given at the end of this talk.